Oh, it is.
For those of you listening, I am about to take a step away from the mic and scream into a pillow. Just give me a second. Give me a second.
Oh, it is.
Did that just happen?
Yep.
Anxious.
Recording is in progress.
Technology is both amazing and yet I want to strangle myself with it all the time.
Yeah, it can sometimes be very frustrating. I'm like, maybe this was better when we didn't have this.
Did you see the latest news about cybersecurity people being very aware that if you track your cycle on an app or on a health thing, some of the states trying to ban abortion can and will track your data and will track you down via that.
What?
Yeah, because we don't do a ton of privacy laws in this country. I'm not great at cybersecurity whenever it comes to like knowing what laws, what is what, like knowing when the NSA is listening in. I just figure they think I'm an idiot. So
just keep going and it'll be fine.
But apparently in more conservative states, they can start tapping into your phone data.
What is the hope that they're doing by using that?
That they'll catch people trying to utilize contraceptives, because they're also trying to ban Plan B and condoms and the pill.
It never made sense, but it's like really not making sense now.
Yeah, I've been seeing a bunch of people going like, yeah, this was never about abortion for them. This was literally just controlling bodies.
Because birth control, condoms are like, there's nothing bad about them. No. There's nothing bad about abortion or anything else either, but what's going on?
They hate women and people with the ability to carry a child.
That's crazy. That's, ugh.
Here we are, week 2 in this dystopian timeline. It has officially been a week since the SCOTUS leak, and my focus this week has been page 34 in particular, where Justice, if I pronounce his name wrong, I'm sorry, but I'm also not sorry, because screw that. Justice Alto, whatever, particularly referenced the domestic supply of babies ready to be adopted.
Oh no.
Has been dwindling since Roe v. Wade. And I was just like, excuse me, did you just refer to children as a domestic supply? So the adoptee circles, the adoptee community has been going off.
That is inexcusable. I cannot believe that is on an official document. Wow.
From the highest court in the country. But also, this would not be the first time they put a price tag on human beings.
Yeah, not by a long shot. So just so I'm making sure I understand this right, he's saying an argument against Roe v. Wade is that because there have been less adoptions?
Yep.
Oh my God.
As part of his argument. So a lot of adoptees have been like, if you are already not seeing like the fact that adoptees have been saying we are not commodities and we are actual human beings, and you're trying to put a price tag on human beings because adoptions cost money. Like, it's mind-blowing in the year of our Lord 2022 that we are doing this. And what's crazier is you look at the amount of children in the child welfare system. It is disproportionately Black and brown children.
Right.
Not the NAACP, but the National Association of Black Social Workers in 1973 or 72 or 73, right around Roe v. Wade, stated that adopting Black children into white families was cultural genocide. We've talked about this before. It's still fresh on my mind. It's still right there. And whenever I saw page 34 talking about the domestic supply of infants,
I would hope that it would just be understood why that is completely inappropriate to say. But apparently it is not understood.
Apparently it's fine for a Chief Justice of the United States judicial system to refer to human beings as a literal domestic supply. And yet they're calling this a pro-life movement. I don't understand how you can be wanting it doesn't compute.
No.
None of it computes.
No, I think that actually ties in perfectly with our reading, because it just, you're buying into a system, advocating for a system that in no way works. That's crazy. And I will mention that as of today, when we're recording, abortion is still legal. So if you or anyone you need is in need, or anyone you know is in need of an abortion, definitely I will put in some resources in the comments.
New York State actually is fast tracking a bill that will establish a fund for non-New Yorkers who are seeking abortion care and health care from outside of the state, funds to help them.
Wow. Okay, that's fantastic.
I am so proud to be a New Yorker. I might be a new New Yorker. I consider myself a New Yorker. I was never a Texan at this point.
No, New Yorker looks very good on you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So yeah, abortion is still legal in this country. People are going and screaming outside of Brett Kavanaugh's house, which I think is hilarious. And he's like crying and calling the cops. And when everyone is just like, you know, the woman you assaulted had to move 4 times while she was testifying. Like, because she came out and spoke about your assault on her. And you're complaining about people screaming outside of your house. She got death threats.
Yeah.
This country hates women. It's fine.
Some perspective would be nice for Justice Kavanaugh.
Oh my gosh. Between Kavanaugh and, I'm just calling her Amy. I'm not even saying her full name. Between Brett and Amy. I literally just want to slam my face on a wall.
Yes, we have a problem in the Supreme Court.
And this has been years in the making. Yes. So like whenever people are all like, oh, if Ruth Bader Ginsburg was still alive, well, she didn't retire whenever she could have, so that we could have had a better fighting chance about keeping Roe v. Wade.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So people like RBG is not fully to blame, but she is kind of playing a piece in this too, which is unfortunate.
It is.
Also, I have never learned so much about Susan Collins in such little time. I'm learning so much this week.
Just like a sponge, just soaking up all the information. There's a lot going on. You just gotta get on it.
Whenever you're anger researching, infographics are great.
Yes, most certainly.
Like, this is more research than I did in grad school. Is bad. But taking that segue into fear and feminism.
Yes. What a chapter.
I just love how she opened it, talking about a class called the Psychology of Sexual Harassment. I want that class.
I know. She was somewhere in Chicago. Yeah, I read that and I was like, I did not have that option.
Absolutely not. My biology class, Baylor University, still taught that evolution was still kind of a thing.
Kind
of a thing.
Oh, Baylor. No, I want that class. Like, that sounds very practical.
Yeah, and I think it should be paired with, sorry, there's an ant on my plant. Had to get the ant off my plant. I think it should be paired with a self-defense class.
Ooh, okay.
Learn about what's going on in the perpetrator's head, and then also learn how to strike them dead. I'll put that just now.
A happy coincidence.
I'm really good at this. Oh my gosh. But I absolutely love that. I just absolutely love the fact that she had that class. Mm-hmm. And then she talks about the day a white girl piped up and as they were talking about Anita Hill, mm-hmm. and asked, why do the Black women always support Black men? She was offended that more Black women hadn't acted in what she perceived as a feminist fashion and rallied to support Anita Hill. She ignored, or most likely didn't know, that many Black women had rallied behind Hill. What she knew was that all the faces she saw supporting Hill were white women, and for several long aggravating moments, she attempted to craft a narrative about male privilege and patriarchal attitudes that was completely race blind. Oof.
Yes. And from that story specifically, I loved how she talked about in the assumption with what her classmates said was that white women had the answer for all of the communities. And I was just like, gosh, Mikki Kendall, that is profound. Just in her correction, her thinking, oh, this is what should have happened. The fact that you think you know what should have happened in another community is a problem.
It's so interesting and also very pertinent to, I don't know if you've been seeing all the drama that's been going on with No White Saviors. I have been watching this week by week as it's been unfolding, but the way that white women are able to have their narrative accepted almost like not immediately, but so much sooner than a woman of color.
Yeah.
And how that just whiteness in general has shaped history.
It is quite unfortunate.
I apologize for this, but it slipped my mind. Who is Anita Hill? I'm going to look up Anita Hill because I feel really bad for forgetting about her.
I cannot tell you exactly what you looking her up is good. She was like an intern for a very prominent man and she accused him of assault. And so then became like this whole thing. But you'll get more accurate information from the internet.
Goodness. I want to meet Anita Hill, honestly. an American lawyer, educator, and author. She is a professor. She is a professor of social policy, law, and women's studies at Brandeis University and a faculty member of the university's Heller School for Social Policy and Management. She accused U.S. Supreme Court nominee Clarence Thomas, her supervisor at the United States Department of Education and Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, of sexual harassment. I know that's not the
Oh, it is. Oh, it is.
For those of you listening, I am about to take a step away from the mic and scream into a pillow. Just give me a second. Give me a second.
Oh, it is.
Did that just happen?
Yeah.
Also, didn't his wife try to overthrow the government?
Yep.
I hate it here.
Same man.
I hate it here.
And he didn't recuse himself, did he?
No.
Wow. So that means we have two men, at least that we know of right now, on the Supreme Court that have been accused of sexual assault. Two.
You've got to be kidding me.
Mm-hmm. I wish I was. I wish we lived in a better world.
What reality is it that we have a Supreme Court, not one, but two justices who have been accused of sexual misconduct voting on women's rights?
Mm-hmm.
I hate it here.
It feels like that shouldn't be the case, but
it feels like cruel irony is what it feels like. It feels like this reality should not be happening.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That was a lot for you to learn in a Google search.
You just saw the 7 stages of grief. I think I'm still in anger. I'm not in bargaining with God right now, but I will be after this podcast.
It's just a perpetual state of anger, though, I feel. Unfortunately.
That's why I'm so exhausted. I've been angry for the last 6 years.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. I did not even pay much attention to politics, and I regret that, until I was in college. And I love how the first election I ever was involved in was 2016.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that for me because I missed the 2012 election by 3 weeks.
Oh no.
3 weeks, and it sucks because that's not even my real birthday. What is on my official documents is not my real birthday, people. Okay, that can be a whole other conversation, but come on.
Yes, it's quite a disappointment. I would argue the reason I'm not really into politics, but the reason I stay more up to date is because Trump was in office. The day he got elected, I was like, oh, I need to know what I'm doing, because he doesn't. Under Obama, I was blissfully ignorant. We had a good leader. I was happy. And now here we are.
Obama, if you're listening, if you ever listen, but you're too busy doing your podcast with Bruce Springsteen, I miss you every day. Now, he was not without his faults. The border crossing and the border crisis situation did come out under his administration.
That's true.
He's not perfect. But I miss him every day. Oh my gosh. I can't get over the fact that we're talking about the Supreme Court right now, and we're at the Supreme that is talking about the Supreme Court in this book. The timing, the irony, the divine intervention. I don't know.
Yes, the timing is perfect. I think there's another part that we'll probably get to where I was like, wow, this is really timely.
Oh, okay. Oh, and here's good old Brett also mentioned right here on the next page.
Oh yeah.
Everyone go buy this book.
It is amazing. You will read it so fast.
Go buy this book.
It is so enlightening. Yeah, she mentions Brett a lot and talks about how he was confirmed, I believe. And I believe she mentions he was confirmed, not I believe he was confirmed. I know for a fact that he was confirmed, unfortunately. But she mentions that he was confirmed and he will then be making decisions on a woman or a person's right to have an abortion or not. And look what happened.
Look what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Since abortion and reproductive justice is also so clearly, as we know by page 34, is clearly tied into the social welfare, the policing of Black and brown bodies through family and child welfare. That's a fun Wikipedia rabbit hole to go down, people, if you haven't Googled that. Google is such an amazing invention. I love it, but I also hate it. But we have 3 sitting Supreme Court justices who also have received funds from adoption agencies, have adopted children themselves, or have a relative who is adopted. And they're not recusing themselves from this either.
Wow. That's very interesting.
It feels like it shouldn't be rocket science to draw these conclusions.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, here we are.
Drawing every single conclusion.
I will get a whiteboard. I will get Representative Katie Porter to send me her whiteboard. Love her too. Absolutely love Katie. Just like to draw these conclusions, and it all is steeped in anti-Black racism. Mm-hmm. That is the awful onion core of this giant onion plant. The horrible root. I hate onions. Anti-Black racism.
It's at the center for sure. Mm-hmm.
It almost sounds like the logical response until you remember that we're talking about the Supreme Court and not the apocalypse.
Was that a direct quote?
Yes, that is a direct quote.
How did I not read that?
Page 161, people. Whenever we're talking about our buddy Brett, in response to stories about buddy Brett getting into bar fights as an undergrad, prominent Canadian journalist and right-leaning centrist political pundit Jen Gerson argued on Twitter, "My position on bar fights: a relatively small number of men possess the temperamental bent to engage in a bar fight. These men can be problems, but you wouldn't want to be stuck in a zombie apocalypse without such men. They are problems we are stuck with." It almost sounds like a logical response until you remember that we're talking about the Supreme Court, not a zombie apocalypse.
I don't know why I overlooked the apocalypse, but I certainly remember her talking about the temper of Kavanaugh. First of all, nobody but a white man can get away with that kind of temper and still be in the highest court. Second of all, do you want someone in the highest court with that kind of temper? No.
Whenever women are expressing outrage, like the amazing Elizabeth Warren did this past week. People say she's on menopause. She is on her period. She is not logical. She should not be in a position of power. She would never have made a good president. When you see idiots like Kavanaugh, like, have complete meltdowns. We have photographic evidence, people. I want that forever enshrined in the Smithsonian from those hearings. Him just crying and talking about cracking open a cold beer with the boys. And then I want it playing next to the SNL version of that as well.
This is very specific.
In my dream world, the Smithsonian has many, many exhibits of white men crying.
I certainly do want to take it back to Elizabeth Warren and expressing outrage. It reminds me of Serena Williams whenever the ref said that she was like cheating, and she was understandably upset, and people went, I mean, that's all you saw about Serena Williams. But I will have you know, men do much worse things. I mean, we could talk about only the sport of tennis, but in a lot of other sports. And do they make headlines? Do people even bat an eye? No.
It's encouraged in hockey. I don't know anything about hockey, but I do know that they fight a lot.
It's like the one thing anyone knows about hockey if they're not a hockey person.
How did we as a society get to where we are to be this anti-woman and this anti-women of color?
Mikki does talk about, I'm not sure which chapter, but she definitely talks about, no. It's about Kavanaugh and the professor who came forward and accused him of the assault. And people were shocked at how she was treated. She was like, but if you treat every other person who comes forward like this, you can't really be shocked that somebody in the public eye is treated that way. When anyone is disposable, everyone is disposable.
Like, it also reminds me of the lawsuit that one of my true heroes of today, Taylor Swift, she countersued a radio host for symbolically $1 because he assaulted her, and then sued her, saying that she was the reason he lost his job. And she countersued him for $1 and won.
Just the entitlement to go at her and say, you're the reason I lost my job, when it was his actions, which is the reason he lost his job, I think points to the fact that there is a problem.
It's such a major problem. And the fact they had to go to court over this. And this is Taylor Swift. Literally one of the biggest names in the world that's in the entertainment world. So whenever you put just a professor up there who is not worth billions and billions of dollars, who does not have fame and recognition, like that, like, you once again, you said it, like, if that woman is disposable, we are all disposable. And then whenever people say, why don't women come forward? Why don't women come forward when they're assaulted, when they're harassed? It's because crap like that happens.
Yeah, why would you come forward is the question.
It sucks.
It concerns me as a society that when people come forward and talk about harassment and assault, instead of us being like, hey, you know, what do you need? How can we take care of you? The first thing is, are they telling the truth? I think that points to I just feel like we're all traumatized and we're all hurt and we're all broken. And I just feel like that points to it, because I mean, this is something major and life-changing, and the fact that we're not able to be there for each other and support each other and nurture each other is a problem.
Like, the fact that there is not like there's not even solidarity within these silos of women of color sometimes. Like we talked about like how white woman feminism is mainstream feminism, where women of color, people who are presenting as women, people in the LGBTQ community, like we talk about how they are not supported by mainstream feminism because they are not the ideal of feminism, which we can't even support each other. So the more that we are divided, the more that the freaking white patriarchy can and will stomp on both us, our rights, and that of future generations.
That's interesting. Mikki Kendall definitely talks about like the overall theme are the women who vote against their self-interest to uphold white supremacy, to uphold the patriarchy. And then she vividly talks about people who support, specifically women who support Trump. And that just made me like shudder and flash back to the election, and people would have like women for Trump signs. And I just genuinely do not understand how a woman can be for Trump. I mean, now I get it because, you know, they're voting against their self-interest. But if you like, how can you not look at it and say, oh, wow, this is like actually harming me?
I think there is a long game and a short game whenever it comes to human rights, unfortunately. Some people can be very short-sighted and some people play the long game. So whenever you think about the people who are a little more short-sighted and think of immediate actions and immediate rewards, they thought, and I'm just going based on what some of my family members who voted for Trump, some women included, like I'm just going based on what we had spoken about. They wanted the short-term reputation of America, make it a great nation again. They wanted the return of like the great time period of the 50s where, you know, neither you or I would be able to vote in that time. Love that for us. Like, yeah, love how there was no legal recourse for someone that looked like me to be able to immigrate to this country until like the 30s either. Or was it the 50s? I don't remember. It's just and we think about it and it wasn't even that long ago.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, my parents were born in the 50s. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, so we think about people thinking about the short game, but then we think about the long term, like repercussions of what has happened because of that election. We have a Supreme Court that is now about to overturn Roe v. Wade. We have a that's connected to those civil rights is the right to gay marriage, the right to interracial marriage, the right to transgender healthcare. All of that is tied into Roe v. Wade, unfortunately.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, I was on Instagram a lot, and apparently people, like, I'm not a law person, but I don't know how lawyers and law people are able to draw these conclusions, but I fully believe that because whenever they're using the Constitution as a backdrop and as the basis of their arguments, that Constitution did not include people like you and me.
Right.
So if we're going to go all the way back to the beginning, it's not going to be pretty.
Yeah, there's no limit because there was a time where, and still arguably, people don't have human rights.
Oh yeah, like people don't have civil rights in this country. People don't have basic human rights like People don't even have the right to clean water in this country.
Let me ask you a question though, because you bring up interracial marriage. You bring up, what else did you bring up?
Interracial marriage, transgender rights, gay marriage.
Gay marriage. Do any of those things to you seem like political issues?
Ooh. Any of those things seem like political issues? Like what do you mean by political issues? Because who I am as a person, I believe anything can be political.
Okay. To me, it just doesn't seem like things that a Supreme Court should be able to vote for or against. Those feel like inalienable rights to me.
Unfortunately, those were not declared as unalienable rights when this country was founded. There are democracies across the world that redo their constitution every like 10, 20, 30 years. We've had ours for 200 and whatever years. And it's taken a freaking like so much effort just to get some basic rights codified into law. But these arguments can be overturned so quickly, and it's not. And whenever we're talking about federal protections, we're talking about like whether or not states want to ban certain things if they feel like it. So Roe v. Wade being overturned, that means in New York, I am still protected. I would still have access to abortion should I ever need one, because New York State Senate and House of Representatives decided and codified it into law that in New York State, if you are a New York resident, if you are a New York taxpayer, you have these privileges and these rights as a New York citizen. Unfortunately, if I were to go back to Texas, that would not be the case.
Yeah. It feels similar to South Carolina, where it is not guaranteed. It is actually probably not likely that we would have the same rights as you guys in New York.
I'm looking up all the constitutional amendments right now. So we all know the Bill of Rights, which is the first 10 amendments. So First Amendment, establishment of religion, prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging freedom of speech or the press or the right to the people to peacefully assemble. So that is our First Amendment right. And amendments, it takes a crap ton of work to change those.
Yes.
So we're pretty good on amendments. At least you and I have voting rights.
We have voting rights.
I don't have much more, but we have voting rights.
This is very disenchanting.
Second Amendment right is the right to bear arms, militia. Third Amendment, no board and quartering or whatever, where soldiers can occupy your home by saying, hey, we're soldiers on U.S. government official business. We're coming in. You have to like room and board us. The right of the people to secure in their houses papers and effects against unreasonable searches. So need a warrant. Amendment 5. No person shall be held in answer for capital, otherwise infamous crime unless presentment of indictment of a grand jury. So innocent until proven guilty. These are good ones. Good things that are rights. In all criminal prosecutions, all accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial. Have we guaranteed that to people? Do we have people still currently sitting in the prison system, in the carceral system, for very minor charges because they can't pay bail?
We do.
Oof. All right. So working on that one. In suits at common law Also, by the way, people, this is me interpreting it. I don't have a law degree. I am just some idiot they decided to give a master's degree to. I don't even deserve that half of the time. All right, Amendment 7. Suits at common law where the value and controversy shall exceed $20. Trial by jury shall be preserved. I think they fixed that one eventually because $20. Inflation. Excessive bail shall not be required. Ooh, excessive bail, but bail is decided by judges. This is fun. Enumeration of the Constitution of certain rights shall not be constructed to deny or disparage others retained by. There's a reason there's an entire class for this in law school, because I clearly could not sit through law school. Powers delegated to the United States in the Constitution or prohibited by the states reserved to the states respectively or to the people. All right. Judicial power of the states not be construed to extend any suit in law equity. I don't know. That's something about. Where's the good stuff?
Get to the juicy part.
Get to the juicy part. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude. What amendment is that, people? 15. Amendment. No, that's 13. I can't read Roman numerals either. So bad. All right. 13, 14. All persons born and naturalized in the United States shall be subject to the jurisdiction thereof and are citizens. So anyone born in the United States is a citizen, people, or U.S. territories that they imperialized. Who knows? Amendment 15. The right of the citizens to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state, race, or color previous condition of servitude. All righty. 1913. Collect taxes of income tax, blah, blah, blah. Number 17. 2 senators from each state, elected by the people thereof for 6 years. Okay, put that on the senators. Transportation, that was prohibition. The right of citizens to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. Do you think people, now that we know that there is a difference between sex and gender, do you think people try to use that against non-binary?
Definitely. I definitely think so. This should all be updated.
Oh yeah, terms of the president and the number 20, president, the vice president, blah blah blah. Congress shall assemble at least once every year, blah blah blah. 8th Amendment of the Constitution. The 18th article of the amendment of the Constitution is hereby repealed. Transportation into any state, territory, blah, blah, blah. Liquors, they repealed it. No person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice. Looking at you, FDR. It's elected like 4 times, I'm pretty sure. I'm still looking at it. I'm still looking. Abridged by United. Failure to pay tax. That's okay. Failure to pay tax by people sitting in office. Establishes a situation if president dies. Rights of citizens who are 18 years or older shall vote. No law varying the compensation of the services of senators and representatives shall take effect until the election of representative has been intervened. And that's it. That is it.
Yeah, there's nothing about everyone has the right to. There are no like tangible what we're fighting for now. So healthcare or housing. They talk about voting. But I feel like housing, healthcare, clean water, healthy food, those things, it's interesting that none of that is listed there.
So the last amendment that was passed was in 1992, ratified May 7, 1992. No law varying the compensation for the services of senators, blah, 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 shall take effect. Okay, I have no clue what that was passed, but okay, Clinton. And then before that, it was 1971. So it lowered the voting age because they were sending people to Vietnam. And the voting age was 21 until then. Then they made it 18. And then before that, it was 1967. There was that. 1964, vote primary election for president, blah, 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 blah. They canceled out the Jim Crow laws saying that you had to pay a tax to vote. Like, I'm missing something. There was something in the civil rights movement that I thought that was an amendment. Am I just dumb?
I thought you read discrimination. There should be no discrimination. I should emphasize. I thought you read that.
But in the event of our populous state, no, I'm not saying anything. The ones, when did people of color get the right to vote?
It was 1960
something.
Yeah. Was it 63?
I want to say 69. Or was that the moon? 65.
Okay.
And that was the Voting Rights Act. That wasn't even an amendment to the Constitution. So, civil rights. Who needs them?
Wow. So, yeah. If we elect our president every 4 years, Supreme Court justices are a lifelong kind of thing, but I just feel like if the last time we amended the Constitution was 1992, that's it. Something needs to be updated. A lot of things need to be updated.
The internet wasn't even involved then. I feel like at least 3 amendments need to pertain to the internet and cybersecurity. Like, whenever people talk about our founding fathers wouldn't have appreciated America how it is now. First of all, our founding fathers would be questioning why we could vote. First of all, second of all, there's however many million Californians in a what now? They wouldn't know what California was because we hadn't stolen it from Mexico yet. I am taking it back to Mexico, by the way.
What are the arguments you're seeing when people are saying our founding fathers would not approve of America? What are they arguing?
They are arguing we should go back to traditional family values, and I really want to rip out their tracheas with a spoon.
I don't know if people don't realize or don't care when you talk about making America great again, when you talk about going back to the good old days, like none of it was great. None of it. Mikki Kendall actually talks about how, I think she specifically talks about Jim Crow and how when Make America Great, like kind of emphasizes that time. It's like people were enslaved. Do we really like that? Is not, if that's what we think of as a good America society, that is concerning.
Whenever people are comparing the overturn of Roe v. Wade to the new Jane Crow, they reference it to being Jane Crow because it's specifically going to be the women of color who are going to take the downfall of this.
Oh, wow.
I got into a lovely conversation. And every time I say lovely conversation, it means I'm fighting someone on the internet, people. I had a lovely conversation with a gentleman. By gentleman, I mean piece of... Anyways. Who argued with me that we should just punish everyone. And I was like, well, that's not how the carceral system in this country works. If you punish everyone if you criminalize abortion, the people that are going to be punished for it, unfortunately, are the women of color and are the people that are disenfranchised, the people who have been colonized and imperialized and every other allied that you can imagine. Because look at our jail system now.
Right. Yeah.
It is overrepresented by people of color, mostly Black and brown folks. And there is a disproportionate amount of people in there with mental health challenges who also struggled with poverty. It's all connected.
Yes.
So these policies, life is not going to change much for the rich, the white, the people who have access. Like, I'm saying my life is not going to change whether or not Roe v. Wade is still standing tomorrow, because I live in a very nice situation.
Right.
But that's not the point. It's caring about someone that is not you.
Yes.
Which is why I think a lot of people need to get with the program.
Yeah, I think you bring up a fantastic point. It's not just about, and I think this is what limits a lot of our perspectives. It's not what I deal with, and it won't affect me. So I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to advocate for it because I don't see it. It doesn't happen. And if we could open our eyes and see different perspectives and how things affect different people. And I mean, when we're talking about something like abortion that messes with quality of life, then it certainly emphasizes the importance of like opening your eyes a little more.
And just expanding your compassion and empathy to outside of your immediate circle. I'm tired. I am tired.
When they say punish everyone, I mean, we got to look at like criminal justice. Everything doesn't need a punishment. When we're talking about abortion, if someone's actively trying to seek an abortion, should they be locked up?
In southern states, there was a case, I forgot which state it was. I want to say it was the deep South. So Mississippi, Alabama, probably Texas. Let's be real, it was probably Texas, where a expectant mother, she wasn't even seeking an abortion, but she got into a fight and she lost her child. She was tried for murder because she put the unborn child in harm's way. I don't even remember if the pregnancy was past 21 weeks or not, but I remember she was tried as a murderer. And I was just like, you are literally punishing a woman who lost her child.
Yes. Quite literally. And why does she need to be punished? Like, something terrible happened, yes, but do we have to point fingers and say that's your fault and you need to deal with the consequences, and we need to set the consequences with what you need to deal with? This control factor is getting out of control. It has been out of control, but this is crazy.
I think this might be going out on a limb, but historically speaking, the white male patriarchy's need to control someone has been chafing ever since minorities started getting rights.
Interesting. Mikki Kendall certainly talks about how whenever specifically Black people are thriving, it really offends white America. And you've seen it throughout history. Black people, specifically Black people, are minding their business. We're doing our things. And then boom, here comes oppression, because the way society has been set up, the foundation on which society has been built, it's like, oh, but you're not supposed to thrive. And that actually bothers me.
I hate it. If people don't believe us, go look up the Tulsa Massacre.
Yes.
Go look up the Tulsa Massacre. Go look up the neighborhood that was erased from Manhattan, New York, on Lenape land that was primarily Black people and people of color who owned their own homes. And they were erased in favor of Central Park.
Yeah. There are way too many examples. I mean, you think about all of the communities that were Black owned, free people, and how in some way white people in the surrounding areas decided that they needed to get in there and ruin everything. It's all throughout history.
It's a pride thing. It's a ego thing. I don't know how to explain it. I genuinely do not know the mentality of the white patriarchy to the point where someone else's success pisses you off so much that you have to go and destroy it.
And Mikki Kendall definitely talks about, which kind of made me feel better, because she talks about how no matter what we do, we people of underserved populations, we people who have been oppressed by the patriarchy, by white supremacy, no matter what we do, if white people are intentionally voting against their self-interest, there's not a lot we can do. And that just kind of like, I don't know why that made me take a deep breath. I don't know why that made me feel better, but I was like, that's true. We can't solve all of the problems on our own.
Like, it has been proven, historically proven, empirically proven, that when minorities succeed, we all succeed. When you support, I'm going to quote the Bible here, when you support, quote unquote, the least of these, everyone succeeds.
But not like that, you stupid socialist.
You stupid socialist. How dare you?
It is 100% fact. And that's definitely a theme I'm seeing throughout this book. I'm trying to think if it was a theme in other books too, but if everyone has the right, everyone has rights, everyone is taken care of, then we're all good. And it's not one of Kendi's guests on this podcast, they talked about how right now when you see people, specifically in this situation where you've got white people voting to uphold white supremacy because they don't want to take a step back. You know, if they're in first class, they don't want to be in coach. And she's like, but that's not how it works. We would all be in first class. We would all be good.
Like, somehow they're in this impression, they're under this impression that human rights is finite. The worth and dignity of a person cannot be computed, cannot be commodified, cannot have a value put to it.
Right.
It's literally invaluable, and therefore it's immeasurable. It's immeasurable. It's not finite. You know what? If you give someone else a right, everyone else benefits from that person having rights.
Yeah, and who are you to say that I need my rights, but you don't need yours?
What is it with white people in oppression?
It's a problem, certainly, but it's all of our problems. Us, the people who are currently oppressing, the people who are the children of oppressors. It's all of us, you know. There's gotta be education. And that's like overly simplifying the answer. But we certainly have to learn, and we certainly have to grow as a society together.
And like, just going into the second chapter of the week about race, politics, poverty and politics. Like, I love where Kendall says, like, meanwhile, for voters of color, especially Black women, who are often expected to, in American politics, to save everyone else. Yes. Why is it that Black women are always expected to save democracy? And they're literally treated the worst out of every person in our society. Like, we know, empirically speaking, a Black woman makes the lowest cent to the dollar that a white man. And yet they are expected to save democracy. There isn't even the pretense that their votes can actually be cast in their own best interest, or that they might have a different ideas of what their interests are other than candidates, what candidates insist they should be. There are no politicians running in any election who prioritize the concerns and the needs of the poorest and the most vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it just makes me think about the past presidential election, and Black women put Biden in office, like overwhelmingly, over 95%, I believe, voted. And I did not realize that it was over 50% of white women who voted for Trump. That is, I knew it was more than like 10%, but over 50%.
Our goddess and savior, Stacey Abrams.
Yeah, and so I mean, it's a good point that like we literally saved this country. And look at the return. Look at how we're treated.
No words. Literally no words.
Yeah.
When you talk about the fact that this country was built on the backs of people of color and we are treated the least.
Mm-hmm.
It was built by literal slave labor. And then it tried to ban Asians, but took Asian labor to build the railroad connecting California and the West.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been all but erased from history. There are too many issues that are pointing towards the, frankly, annihilation of the fact that people of color built this nation,
mm-hmm.
and yet they are being the most oppressed.
Mm.
And people are just casually letting it happen.
Yeah. It just feels a little too consistent that the work has been benefited from. So we have the infrastructure, we have the country, we have the railroads, but the people, the descendants, we aren't in any way benefiting from, I think, from being human, but also from our ancestors building this country. There's quite a disconnect there.
Oh my gosh. And for people to say that we are our ancestors' wildest dreams, yes, but also that's because our ancestors weren't allowed to dream any bigger than the right to vote, not like dreaming about we are the global majority, and we have the foresight and the vision to be able to take what society and humanity has given us and take it further. But we keep being held back by these systems of oppression. Mm-hmm. And it really freaking sucks. And yes, we are our ancestors' wildest dreams, but yet we can dream bigger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that.
And
this is quite... Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. I was just saying, and the fact that should I choose to continue in the next generation, that they might not have the kind of rights that I had.
Yeah, at the protest, I saw it was like a young girl who had a sign that was like, I don't even have the rights my mom had. There's a regression happening before our eyes, and it is very concerning.
Yep. It's not good. It's not good. Mm-hmm. It's all tied in with, it's like, I feel like we're just a broken record at this point, because we're always talking about the patriarchy, white mm-hmm. supremacy, oppression, disenfranchisement, like all of these things. And it's like watching a slow car crash, because it gets worse every week.
And I was thinking maybe a couple weeks ago, because as you said, we talk about this every single week and we blamed everything on the patriarchy. And I was like, wait, didn't Mikki Kendall say don't do just that? The thing that we did.
I'm tired. My brain hurts and I can't do this anymore.
these are all systems that play so unfortunately together. They are all intertwined for sure, but it's exhausting.
That's why dystopian fantasy young adult novels were so popular with our generation, because that's where we're going.
What a heavy conversation.
This is heavy. So I feel like this is going to be heavy here on out, but the next chapter is talking about education, and the chapter after that is about housing.
Ooh, okay.
So we're gonna have fun.
We've hit the point of one-word titles.
One-word titles, and education is your complete, like, you got this.
It is certainly an issue of interest to me. So I look forward to next week.
Yes, it's gonna be good. As always, thank you for sitting here and watching me slowly just melt into a complete ball of distress.
Yeah, I'm right here with you. So thank you for providing this space.
All right. I will see you next week.
All right. Bye.
Bye.